Welcome to the Shift List. My name is Matt, and this is the BMW M240i, and it is an absolute peach. So thanks to my friends at International BMW for letting me have a go in their M240i today so I can show you everything that you need to know about this thing. Now the 2 Series is actually pretty split. You have the 2 Coupe, which is what we have here. You can get it in rear-wheel drive, classic BMW stuff. But then you can also get the Gran Coupe, which is basically a 4-door front-wheel drive, kind of almost a Mini. The Coupe is really the one you want, and the M240i is the one you really want. And that's because the M240i gets you this. This is BMW's B58 3-liter inline 6-cylinder. Possibly the best all-around engine kind of in existence right now. It's wildly powerful, durable, tunable, and it's efficient. 382 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. It's the same engine in the M340i, M440i, the Supra, etc. But it's not exactly the same. The M240i here doesn't get the 48-volt mild hybrid system that the 2023 M340i got, but you still get about 26 mpg combined here, so that's pretty good. And then there's the pace. Now, BMW says 382 horsepower, but let's be honest, it's more like 400 horsepower or more at the crank. It's going through the beautifully tuned ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, incredible gearbox, by the way, to either rear-wheel drive as base or all-wheel drive with xDrive. It's about 2,000 extra bucks to get xDrive, and I don't actually think you can get rear-wheel drive for the M240i in Canada, so somebody confirm that down below. But you get the M Sport differential, and 0 to 60 is in the low 4 seconds, about 4 seconds, and it is just brilliant behind the wheel, which we'll talk about later. But now I want to talk about the looks of the car a little bit, because I wasn't totally sold when this thing first came out, but I have to say, in this black spec that we have here, it is growing on me. You do have a typical BMW M hood bulge. You've got somewhat like angel eye LEDs up front, shadow line for your grille, so it's all blacked out here, and then your grille is actually active, so it doesn't need to be cooling itself all the time, so it can close itself off to be a little bit more fuel efficient and aerodynamic. And then down here, big change, you've got triangles for your lower fascia, whereas the M2 that we were in earlier had like big rectangles. So interesting face. Come around the side here, you've got a little bit of a flare for your fender here, but then you've got gloss black 19-inch wheels with the red M brakes and even a little M logo here on your spoke. Of course, M Fang wing mirrors. We'll take a look from the side. It's kind of classic. Long hood, nice bulge here, and then a little bit of a molded-in spoiler back there. Black window treatments as per the shadow line, of course, and the same door handles that were on my '99 Honda Accord. You look at the rear hip, this was really flared in the M2. Still a little bit of a flare, but not so much. And then all the way to the back, there's a couple things to note. Again, we talked about that molded in rear lip spoiler that we have here, M240i badge, and then upside down question mark taillights, classic 2 Series stuff now. A little bit of a diffuser, and of course the M Sport dual exhaust, which sounds pretty good. Now there's a couple things you can't get for this newer generation of 2 Series. You can't get a convertible body style anymore, and you can't get a manual transmission. You have to go up to the M2 if you want the stick. 2-door sports coupe, we're still going to check out the trunk, because it's actually pretty practical. Now this has a bigger opening as well as a bigger cargo area than the Mustang. It's of course got a bigger cargo area than the Z as well as the Supra. So this is in fact the most practical of all of them. You've got seat releases up here, they fold all 3 ways, and it's just nice and practical. We did a lake weekend test with the M2, which I'll show you now. In my review of this M2, I've been saying that it is the most practical and all the way on the back of the seat here. And then it electronically whirs itself out of the way as slowly as your grandpa might. But you come back here and you have okay space. You've got a little bit of detailing that shares with the front door. And then I'll step back here. I'm 6'1" for reference. You've got some vents here. You can also get a climate zone back here, I believe, as well as cup holders. Now, I'm gonna let the seat come back. I can sit back here, straddling the seat, it's okay. Go back up. So I can sit back here and I can still sit up here and be comfortable. The thing is about headroom. Headroom is not great, but you do have cup holders, but also a full pass-through. So if you want to put long stuff in here, you can. But then we'll talk about the front seats themselves. They're really comfortable. This nice $1,500, I'm gonna butcher the name, but it's a really nice red leather. It's kind of like a Merlot, kind of deeper red. But they are heated, they are not cooled, and the steering wheel is also heated. That's part of a package, but it is nice to have, and they're like 4 levels of heated seats, so pretty nice. Now, I just mentioned this a little bit ago, but your door cards are interesting with this kind of triangular dimpling pattern. But you also have an LED panel in your door. It's flashing red because at night, if this door is open, you're probably not gonna see it. So it flashes red so anybody behind you won't come and rip off your door. And you also got a wireless charger here, but it's behind the water bottles, or the cup holders, I should say. So if you do have 2 water bottles here sticking up, they are gonna block access to your phone. Now this is probably not a huge deal because 1, you shouldn't be playing with your phone while you're driving, and 2, you do have wireless Apple CarPlay, so anything that you do need for your phone, music, maps, you should be able to access it here with your iDrive wheel or the touchscreen. And speaking of all this stuff, let's talk about the technology. Now you do have a head-up display, and there's a couple different ways that you can adjust it. You go to this button here, I'll show you later, but you go there, I'm gonna adjust the head-up display, and there's different views. This is kind of like a cool airplane wing. You've got a directional Captain Marvel looking arrow, and then just your standard view. But you come back and look at your instrument cluster, and you can change the layout of that too. It's the more sporty focused one, this is a more casual, everyday one, and then this one reminds me a lot of the i7, just a very clean look to it. And of course you can adjust everything that's on it, music, your map, turn-by-turn directions, fuel economy, all that stuff. Personally, kind of like this one. But then over here on your main screen, it is running iDrive 8. Very good system. We've run it, or we've reviewed it a couple times. One of my favorite things is the adaptive content or active content screen. So I put my foot on the brake, you can see it there. Whoops. I put my blinker on, you can see it there. And same thing on this screen as well. And I can see every angle of the car. Very, very cool. I like that. We mentioned wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, throw it in reverse. And we've got 360 cameras with all of the typical augmented reality style views. It's a little bit slow, but I mean, it's hard to argue with this. This is pretty cool. And you do have the backup assistant, which will back up for you if you park in kind of a tight spot. Now I want to talk about your drive modes. You don't have the M buttons like we did on the M2, but you do have your Eco Pro, your Comfort, and then a couple variations of Sport. Sport is also going to kill your auto start stop. So if you don't like that, just drive in Sport. That's kind of the way that this thing was meant to be driven anyway. But look at these graphics. This is pretty cool. Normal, Sport, Sport Plus, and of course your custom Sport mode. And it changes the look of things on your dash too. Comfort, again, cool graphics. And then Eco Pro. There's also an Eco Pro Individual as well. So lots of options. And the last thing we'll talk about is the price. Now the 230 starts at $39,000 for rear wheel drive, but the M240i, the one with the 6-cylinder that you want, that starts at just under $50,000 for rear wheel drive. It's another $2,000 for all wheel drive, and as tested, this thing is just over $60,000, which is a bit expensive, but let's get behind the wheel and see if that's worth it. Turbo, oh, it's fast. Oh my God, is it fast? Oh my God, this M240i, the M340i, the M440i, they're just good. They're just so well-rounded. And here, being the smallest and the lightest, even with it being relatively so, it is just so good. I mean, B58, smooth, straight 6 turbocharged power, realistically about 400 horsepower from the crank, 369 pound-feet of torque. It doesn't get the 48-volt mild hybrid system that the M340 got last year, but I mean, it's so sharp. The gearbox, it's just immediate. It's so good. I don't need a dual clutch here. It's just so good. And then the steering is really kind of the only place that we're gonna ding BMW, and we've been kind of dinging them on steering for a long time, so it doesn't feel good to keep saying it, but there's just a little bit of deadness, a little bit of play on center, even in Sport Plus. But when you're around mid-corner, the hold is fantastic. The chassis balance is brilliant. Really organic and neutral. God, it's just good. 0 to 60, low 4 seconds, 4 seconds, I don't know. but it's just good. You've got grip from the all-wheel drive system. You don't really have any corner entry understeer. The M Sport differential out back gets you a little bit sideways, but never, you know, totally, you know, unrecoverable. It keeps you pretty safe, especially if you have traction on. It's just good all around. Now, in terms of the Mustang GT, which is kind of its main competitor here, we've been talking about, this is going to feel a little bit more peaky. This is kind of the turbocharged kind of thing. The Mustang, especially with the manual, you're gonna be a little bit more predictable in how it makes power, how it's gonna go around a corner. It's gonna feel bigger, it's gonna feel a little bit heavier. This feels a little bit more darty. It's really fast steering. It's not a lot of feel, but it's fast steering. So there's a lot to like here, and there's really not much to not like here. And I think with that, if you're interested in hearing more on how this compares to the Mustang GT, make sure you check out Downshift's video, The Best and the Rest, on this car. And thanks again to our friends at International BMW for letting us have a go in their very, very good M240i.